In today's SOD TV's Warcraft Logs video, we're focusing on the current leaders for the #1 spot. One of those players is the exceptional Shaman tank, Nightsong, a remarkable figure in the Summers Guild on the Living Flame EU server. Nightsong has now secured the 1 spot a staggering 17 times, proving their dominance and skill in the game. But Nightsong isn't the only player making waves in Season of Discovery. EnigmaXX, a Warlock tank player, and Tree Ranger, a Hunter melee player, have both held the top spot 17 times, demonstrating their prowess and dedication to the game. NMX, a Druid Guardian player, has also been a strong contender, securing the top position 14 times. Not far behind is Cuties, a Mage Arcane player, who has claimed the top spot 13 times. In the Balanced Druid category, Fuel from the Guild Male Models holds the top spot with a DPS of 1079.8, maintaining this position for 2 consecutive days. Sinti from Blessed X follows closely with a DPS of 1069.3, and Innate from Humbertism rounds out the top 3 with a DPS of 1051.2. The remaining top 10 players, who continue to challenge the leaders, are Perrin, Hotmiss, Blazerus, Centripetal, Adriu, OKBloomer, and BA Shao BA. In the Feral Druid category, Parspolis of the Silver Saga continues to dominate with a DPS of 1466.8, maintaining this top spot for over a week now. Close behind, BGTD from B-Tribe is holding strong with a DPS of 1453.6, while Lawsuit, also from Silver Saga rounds out the top 3 with a DPS of 1436.2. As for the remaining top 10, let's acknowledge their prowess Endef, Giny, Africantiger, Cyril, Swagdonald, Caddybees, and Lop. In the Guardian Druid category, NMX from the Guild Chinese Textile Machine has held the top spot for over a week, consistently delivering a DPS of 848.2. Following closely, Kildrapuli from Sapankalasura has maintained the 2nd position with a DPS of 831.1. Kaded from B-Tribe rounds out the top 3 with a DPS of 823.2. The remaining top 10 players, who also deserve recognition for their performance, are Sudu Apchit, Ankler, Minetsis, Saiju, Golio, Yuanfeng, and Pumpeeks. In the Melee Hunter category, Tree Ranger continues to dominate with a DPS of 1556.9, maintaining his top position for over a week now. Close behind, we have Olgi from the Guild Dendansky Meadow with a DPS of 1514.9, and Johnny Sins from the Guild Oxygen, holding steady with a DPS of 1507.9. Both are formidable competitors hailing from the EU region. As we round out the top 10, let's not forget the contributions of Resorth, Yangla Chi Chi, Zatara, Cornshot, Minyaros, Wafflefreeze, and Tenno Cute. In the Ranged Hunter category, Isoldout continues to dominate with a DPS of 1432.2, holding the top spot for the past 5 days. Representing the Guild Footlong Party Dogs, SOD, Isoldout's consistent performance is truly impressive. Following closely, Tubby Lumpkin from the Guild Smooth maintains the 2nd position with a DPS of 1349.7. The 3rd spot sees a new contender, Tribalis from the Guild Who Asked, with a DPS of 1338.8, edging out yesterday's 3rd place, Fragmaster. The remaining top 10 for today are Fragmaster, Bumrush, Mihirith, QIACDI, Disio, Floraberries, and Loki. In the Arcane Mage category, Musakas from the Guild I'm Not Sure continues to hold the top spot, maintaining a DPS of 726.1 for the 4th consecutive day. Digidoo from the Guild Resist follows closely in 2nd place with a DPS of 677.4, while Cuties Guildless secures the 3rd position with a DPS of 631.4. The remaining top 10 players, each formidable in their own right, are Muju, Insiamage, Imwakso, Burnett, Dzipied, Greats, and Kusin. Their consistent performance and dedication to the game are truly commendable. In the Fire Mage category, Delano from the Guild Pars continues to hold the top spot for the 6th day in a row, boasting a DPS of 1195.3. Following closely behind, Kie Jujia Yi from the Guild Yuan Q maintains the 2nd position with a DPS of 1177.8. Mellowish rounds out the top 3, delivering a DPS of 1158.8. The remaining top 10 players for today, showcasing their prowess in the Fire Mage category, are Tumu Charmer, Corbs, Duchenem, Magisula, PM, Cest, and Freak Prince. In the Frost Mage category, Watchtome continues to dominate with a DPS of 1039.4, maintaining the top spot for over a week now. Close behind, we have Obi from Link Logs with a DPS of 991.9, and Clankum holding steady at third with a DPS of 987.5. These players have shown consistent performance, demonstrating their mastery of the Frost Mage class. Rounding out the top 10, we have TDMZ, Triipo, Shangming Yu Naijian Mei, Erikisen, Jiboshi, Kueki Wakui, and Sataka. In the Protection Paladin category, the top 3 players have shown impressive stats. Holding the number 1 spot for over a week is Hier Mei IC, boasting a DPS of 1,291.7, a significant increase from yesterday's 1,237.7. Following closely in second place is Boy Sophic, who has climbed the ranks with a DPS of 1,230.6, surpassing One Punch, who now sits in third place with a steady DPS of 1,229.3. The remaining top 10 players, who continue to challenge the leaders, are Fakyaz, Farvald, Fot, and Ming, Duz, Kazurk T, and Gonf. In the Retribution Paladin category, the top 3 players continue to dominate with impressive stats. Kuyu holds the number 1 spot for the second day in a row with a DPS of 1,429.4, demonstrating an unparalleled mastery of the class. Following closely behind is Milasiris, boasting a DPS of 1,376.8, and Peteri, who has consistently held a top 3 position since the beginning of the month with a DPS of 1,372.8. These players have shown exceptional skill and dedication, setting a high bar in the game. The remaining top 10 players, each with their own notable achievements, include Tyrion Polduring, Fidan, Akanos, Elvchapo, GZ, Jeju, Mu Lingzhu, and Hen Xiao de Daju Hua. In the Shadow Priest category, the top 3 players have seen a shift. Yesterday's top player, Waga from Link Logs, held their position for 5 consecutive days with a DPS of 948.9. Today we have a new leader, Zhang Guozhu from Pa Qi Ki Yuma Play, who has risen to the top with a DPS of 983.9. Following closely is Shengdu Di Liangshin, boasting a DPS of 977.9. Waga, although displaced from the top spot, still holds strong in the top 3 with the same DPS as yesterday. The remaining top 10 players for today, in no particular order, are Alp, Flayed, Shen Yuanzian, Smor, Theradrin, Tisunia, and Kasunia. In the DPS Rogue category, Body Snatcher from the guild Fatality has held the top spot for 6 consecutive days with a DPS of 1,507.1, demonstrating an impressive consistency. Following closely behind, we have Zhu Shui Dai from the guild Chuancheng with a DPS of 1,498.6, and Feng Xiao Yu, also from the Shangming Liyan server, with a DPS of 1,494.9. These 3 players have shown remarkable skill and dedication, setting the bar high in the DPS Rogue category. The remaining top 10 players, who continue to challenge the leaderboard, are Lash the Trash, Karina, Jebarium, Sylvie, Tiriella, Shrey, and Reminder. In the Tank Rogue category, Nerf Assassin continues to dominate with a DPS of 1,096.4, maintaining the top spot for over a week now. Not far behind, Nova holds second place with a DPS of 1,062.4, and Zombie rounds out the top 3 with a DPS of 1,058.7. These players have shown exceptional skill and consistency in their gameplay. The remaining top 10 players, who also deserve recognition for their performance, are Sketcher, Scion, Twisted Step, DNP, Hakwin, Wool, and Wangyamalrag. In the Elemental Shaman category, Reliques from the guild Ego has surged to the top spot today with an impressive DPS of 1,261.4, dethroning Bread Gloves from male models who held the position for a day with a DPS of 1,235.8. Hexmother from Hunks maintains a consistent performance, securing the 3rd position with a DPS of 1,165.9. Bread Gloves' consistent performance is noteworthy, maintaining top 3 placement for 2 consecutive days. The remaining top 10 players, who've shown exceptional skills and strategy, are Bangog Dongsum Jumiog, Gag, Philly, Needmilk, Lahepiraka, Lava Blurst, and Elementalman. In the Enhancement Shaman category, NA from the guild Den Dansky Method continues to hold the top spot with a DPS of 1,596.9, a position he's maintained for 6 consecutive days. Following closely behind is Fake BN from the guild Male Models, boasting a DPS of 1,566.4. Rounding out the top 3 is Iopetisham from the guild Strictly Business, who's been consistently in the top 3 for the past week with a DPS of 1,550.6. The remaining top 10 players for today, in no particular order, are Mahatwo, Bozidar Zobe, Boinky, Baljundal, BDD, and Cryptenhance. In the Tank Shaman category, Night Song from the guild Summers continues to dominate with a DPS of 1,147.5, holding the top position for over a week now. Ewo from the guild Trash follows closely behind with a DPS of 1,123.4, while Vistalo from the guild Conspiracy rounds off the top 3 with a DPS of 1,013.1. These players have shown remarkable consistency in their performance. The remaining top 10 players are Bjorgen, Shamsky, Walks, Koshaman, Gearshaman, Tyhex, and Salfir. In the DPS Warlock category, Taco from the guild Angles continues to dominate with a DPS of 1,203.6, holding the top spot for over a week now. Close on his heels is Wayne Warlock from the guild Cheng Nuo, boasting a DPS of 1,169.4. Rounding out the top 3 is a Maieto, who despite not being in a guild, impresses with a DPS of 1,160.7. The competition remains fierce with the rest of the top 10, which includes Pantslock, Strawberry, Demons, Benzalalak, Firamatic, Zhang Gudong, and Matre. In the Tank Warlock category, Enigms XX from the guild Pepident continues to hold the top spot, boasting a DPS of 1,045.0 for the past week. Close behind is Lobster from Mudhut Elite, with a DPS of 1,040.2. Rounding out the top 3 is Gian Renamdo from the guild Renijib, with a DPS of 1,021.1. Notably, Enigzex has maintained the #1 position for an impressive 7 consecutive days. The remaining top 10 players, each demonstrating exceptional skill and strategy, are Dinosaur, Gigapromax, Barot, Tiktoxic, Kyrek Meta, Locktank, and Havoc. In the Fury Warrior category, Sapato from the guild Ego continues to hold the top spot for the 7th consecutive day with a DPS of 1,801.5. Coming in second is Mob PO from the guild Renijib, boasting a DPS of 1,658.9. Rounding out the top 3 is Subtomiyov from the guild Pepident with a DPS of 1,656.1. These players have shown exceptional skill and strategy, setting the bar high in the Fury Warrior rankings. The remaining top 10 players, who are also worth mentioning for their impressive performances, are Gia Ki Egee, Eacsbbu, Chaya, Alando, Daju Liang, Mirax QT, and Bieshka. In the Protection Warrior category, Suffer X from the guild Exhausted continues to dominate with a DPS of 1,453.2, holding the top spot for the past 5 days. Bodil from the guild Lethal follows closely behind with a DPS of 1,436.3, and Butane from the guild Renijib rounds out the top 3 with a DPS of 1,418.9. This trio has consistently outperformed their competition, showcasing their exceptional skills and strategy. The remaining top 10 players, who also deserve recognition for their impressive performances, are Threat, Agony, Kabir, Duo Luo Saizu, Inzaki, Mani, and Ollie.